of things, quick introduction. Don't panic, all right? This isn't something, we've got a few months to go, but you do need to start thinking about what you're doing. Talked about the audit, have an audit, have a look at your systems, have a look at the way that you're working, okay? This is a fundamental change for marketing people, for marketing companies, and the way that we interact with customers now. But we don't, no longer, it's just a case of sending things out and hoping for the best. You have to be very, very careful with what you're doing. All right then. As we said before, comes into force in May 2018. Okay, you need to look at what personal data you've got and how you're holding it, what you're doing. Part of the audit will go through that process, but looking at that thing. Some companies will probably be okay. Some of you have probably got centralised systems, centralised control systems. Some of you will be in a right mess, if I'm honest. You'll have bits and pieces. For example, you'll have 37 copies of Outlook contacts all over the system. You'll have Excel spreadsheets with names and addresses on. You need to start thinking about all that sort of data. These are important points, all right? Okay, we talked about it before, personal data. This is the stuff that you keep on the person. But the thing that's really important here is the bottom one, indirect identification. You may have information like a surname and a postcode. If I had your surname and your postcode, I could probably find out where you live fairly easy, and then more information from there. So don't just think about the lists of people you've got. Think about how you're controlling your data, what data you've got on people. And that's an important part to think of. Okay, can that person be identified with just a little bit of information on that person? All right. Okay. So consent cannot be assumed anymore. It is no longer acceptable for you to assume that someone has your consent for you to contact them. Two elements of that. Personal data is really, really important. Things like personal email addresses. You cannot now just send an email to a personal email address without that person's consent. Think about that. Business is a little bit more open. You can email someone if you know their position, their job, and therefore the information you're sending to them is relevant to that person's position. But if you don't know their job role, you can't send them an information. You can't send general information to them. You need to think about how you obtained it. Did you buy a list? Therefore, do you have consent? Probably not. Did you, as an example, I'll give you a classic example, somebody goes to your website today, they download a piece of content and because they're interested in something, and now they're on your mailing list. No, they're not. Unless you've specifically said, can we put you on our mailing list and follow you up with other information? It's a really, really important point. They've expressed interest in one thing, but not everything. All right? Okay. No more automatic opt-ins. If you've got a form on your website, or they turn up to an exhibition or a show, and you have a long form about downloading it, and at the bottom is a little tick box that's automatically ticked. You're no longer allowed to do that. Okay, you have to make sure that they are unticked and people are automatically opting in. Likewise, some of you know when you want to unsubscribe, you have to go through 97 levels of logging in, finding what you're doing. Do you want to unsubscribe from this list and that list and everything else? All goes. Now it's got to be just as easy to log out, opt out, as it is to log in. So when someone clicks unsubscribe, they're unsubscribing. You may give them a list, but they don't have to make them log in. You have to make it simple. People have to be able to get out as easy as they got in. Okay. This is quite a crucial point. It's an EU regulation. This means that if you hold data on EU personnel, regardless of where your data is stored, so if you've got a data center in the States or in China or wherever else, that data, you are still responsible for that data. All right, that's quite important. So if you're sharing and you've got an online system or you're worldwide, European data, you've got to protect it. There's a new framework that's been introduced for the US companies. So if you're running with a company in the States, they come what's called the EU-US Privacy Shield. You must make sure that the people you're working with are complying to this. And likewise in Switzerland as well, same thing. So if you've got an online database or an online CRM system, you need to check the policies of that company because the previous system didn't work, all right? As we've already said with Brexit, it's just going to be a cut and paste. Don't think we're going to get away from it. It'll be one of the simplest regulations that they can just go, scrape that, move it over. So it won't disappear as a result of Brexit at all, okay? You've got to think of your data security, okay? Where your data is, who has access to it. It's no longer acceptable for you as a company to allow all of your members of your team to have access to all of your customer information. You need to think about what information they've access to, whatever they need to be able to do their job, but they need to think about data security. The last thing you want is a disgruntled employee emailing all of your customers on the last day before they go, because you are liable. Okay, so you need to protect your data and part of what you're doing. likewise, if you're moving data between certain things, so for example, and I'll put this in as a little pitch, if you're moving data out of your customer database and you're uploading it onto your email marketing software to send out emails, you are particularly in a very, very delicate position, because you've got data in one source, you've got data in another. That person is unsubscribing from this end, and they're subscribing from that end. You've got to make sure that those systems are in control. Pull them all together into a single system and work from a single system is very, very okay. Oh, I've already mentioned it. Oh, getting too far ahead. Okay. Strive for a seamless integration. Make sure one of the things that we look at is, if you've got multiple systems, is to try and pull them all together, so that if you update something in the account system, that flows through into your CRM system, that flows through into your marketing system, that flows through the whole thing. So if someone rings up and says, please delete me or don't subscribe me, that flows through the whole system. At the moment, if you've got it sitting there with a company of say 30 people, and you've all got your own outlooks and you've all got your own contacts, and one person unsubscribes or doesn't want to be contacted more, how are you going to deal with that? You're going to send an email out to everyone, please remove this person from your system. So think about pulling all your data into a single source. Okay, it's quite critical as part of that process. Okay, the user right to be forgotten. We've already spoken a little bit about this, but people have the ability now to request it to be removed from your systems. Okay, and you need evidence that you've gone through that process. You need to show that that's the process you're going through, whatever that may be. All right. We've also mentioned before about data restore. Somebody asked to get unsubscribed. What happens is you restore a data, wrap up. Oh dear, okay, right, keep going. Multiple source outlook, evidence of deletion of contact. I'll just talk faster now. Okay, I only got 5 minutes, didn't I? That's outrageous. Okay. Big topic, summary, see I'm there. Seek legal advice, speak to them, and I definitely suggest that you have a centralised CRM and marketing automation platform. My benefits, and there's me. And then one more slide. Yay. Right, so I can sit down. Thank you.